Good morning, everybody. Mr. Adair here doing another video. This video is going to be on energy, non-renewable and renewable energy, and related to the carbon cycle, which we just learned about. So if you could open up your guided notes in Notability, they're titled Energy Guided Notes, and feel free to pause the video, and you can do that right now, and we'll just keep moving on. Hope everyone's doing great. So the first thing I want to go over is what we learned last week a little bit about carbon. Carbon is all around us. It's in the environment, it's in the air, it's in the oceans, it's in fossil fuels underground, it's in sediments. It cycles through, so that means it changes form. Now, one form of carbon is carbon dioxide, where the molecule carbon is with two oxygens. And when we have carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, too much of it, it causes the Earth to increase in temperature. And that's kind of where we get the term global warming. And you can see in these two pictures, and you looked at the graph last week, as the CO2 concentration increases, essentially from the Industrial Revolution when we started burning oil and gas to drive cars and industry and things like that. Now the temperature of the Earth is also increased, and if you look at the greenhouse effect, that kind of shows you why the sun's energy gets trapped inside the Earth. Okay, if you notice also, these slides are labeled slide 1, 2, 3. This is slide 3. So make sure you're following along with your guided notes. Humans are putting too much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere by burning coal, oil, natural gas. How does that work? Well, when we burn coal, for example, which many power plants, even here in Minnesota, are coal powered, we burn coal and it creates fire heat. It turns a turbine, or I'm sorry, it changes water to steam. The steam turns a turbine. The turbine turns a generator, and then that generator produces electrical energy that gets transmitted throughout power lines into your homes. That's why you can turn on your PlayStation, the TV, the lights, all that stuff, because there is electricity flowing from these power plants. Slide number 4. I'm going to keep moving my face here. Humans are burning too much fuel, and it is putting too much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This is causing our Earth, sorry, that's a typo, to warm and our oceans to become more acidic. Now, number 4 says, what are we doing? How is it causing it? Yeah, it's causing our Earth to warm and the oceans to become more acidic. If you ever take an environmental science class, maybe with me next year, we'll learn exactly why that causes the oceans to become more acidic. As you can see from this image on the right too, well, on the left is a picture of a real oil refinery. As you can see, they're pretty massive and they're pretty bad for the environment as far as taking over the habitat. And as you can see, when we dig coal or get oil from underground, there's a lot of steps to make it work, and each one of those steps causes somewhat of a problem environmentally. All the way from transporting it to processing it to burning it to getting rid of the waste and things like that. Slide number 5. Non-renewable energy. So these are the things that we cannot renew. They exist in a fixed amount, meaning once they're here on Earth and for a long period of time. So when we dig up coal, it's been underground for millions of years, and natural gas and oil and nuclear energy is something different. We're not going to talk about that a lot in here. So number 5, non-renewable energy exists in a fixed amount and cannot be replaced on a human time scale. So like we're talking thousands and thousands of years, even millions sometimes. Okay. Now, is there a better way to create electricity than burning coal, oil, natural gas? Yes, and there is. There's a cleaner way to do it. Now, is this a perfect way? No, we still need to build the wind turbines, the solar panels, and the dams and the geothermal. But once we have these sources of energy going, they don't create carbon dioxide. So if you look at the chart to the right, we see non-renewable, natural gas, oil, coal, nuclear. potentially renewable. So if you think about it, when we burn wood, like a wood fire, it creates energy. Um, and we can renew trees. We plant trees, grow them, but it does take time. And biofuel is like using corn to create fuel, and we can also grow corn. However, the bottom ones you see, non-depletable, those are mainly non-depletable, or sometimes people say renewable: wind, solar, hydroelectric, geothermal. Once we have these systems set up, they continue making electricity for a really long time until the machines kind of break down, then need to be repaired. Okay, renewable can be replenished. We're going to talk about these four ways we can get energy: solar, wind, geothermal, and hydroelectric. Okay, our first one I want to talk about is wind energy. Slide number 8. What is wind energy? You can simply say, well, it's harnessing the wind's power to spin a blade and turn a turbine that generates electricity. So we can see what a simple picture of a wind turbine, and then a wind farm is like a big area with lots of these wind turbines creating electricity. The nice thing about wind is it's a natural process that happens. We don't have to dig up coal or anything like that. It just, as long as there's a windy area, it'll move the turbine. Now, think about it. What could be one bad thing? Maybe pause the video. What's one con of wind? Meaning, what maybe there could be some problems with it. For example, if it's not a windy day, you're not going to get electricity, right? Okay, so this slide has a lot of information. We can see there people are starting to make offshore wind farms because there's a lot of wind that blows in on the ocean. So you can see on the image, these are big wind turbines, just massive on the ocean that are constantly making energy. The advantages and disadvantages are listed, so you guys can take time to look at those. One major advantage of wind energy is it does not create carbon dioxide, so it's not creating the greenhouse gas, so it's helping to ultimately create electricity that won't warm the planet. Okay, I'm going kind of quick to fit this all in, but feel free to pause the video to answer your questions. Okay, solar energy is our next one we're going to talk about. This is harnessing energy from the sun. And I'll show you some more pictures in a minute of solar farms. This is actually, the picture below is a picture of my father. He was able to use some money that the state of Minnesota allocated for homeowners to build solar panels, and he built some solar panels on his property at his home, so that he now gets free energy from his solar panels. And actually, the electrical company, he's had them for a long time now, like 8 years or 9 years, and after they pay for themselves, the electrical company actually gives you money to have these. So it's really a financial investment, and it's also an investment into our environment too. So slide 10, solar energy, free energy from the sun. Now here's some other images of much, much more massive solar panel, wind, or solar farms, essentially. And out west, you'll see more of these, but actually in Minnesota, you'll see a lot too if you drive out to the countryside. The image to the right is a kind of a cool concept. If you notice, all of those solar panels are directed towards one point on that tower. So this is kind of a crazy idea, but what it is that there is some like a certain type of fluid that is flowing at the top of that tower. That fluid can withstand a lot of heat, and these solar panels reflect the sun's energy at that one point, superheating up that material. That superheated material will, and through a complicated process, I believe, heat steam, and then steam will turn a turbine to create electricity. So it's kind of a cool idea. So if you are interested in these sorts of engineering things, maybe that's one way your career path could go. Okay. All right, solar panels we briefly talked about. The next form of renewable energy I'd like to talk about would be hydroelectric. This is where we use gravity and water to and harness that energy. So if you think about a waterfall, there's a lot of energy in a waterfall. The water is going from point A down to point B, and as it goes due to gravity, there's a lot of potential energy there and kinetic energy too. Potential energy at the top, kinetic energy as it's flowing down. We can harness that energy by turning a turbine, which turns a generator to produce electricity. This does not create any carbon dioxide. It's just using the natural processes of the earth. Now, with all of these forms of energy, the number one thing is they don't produce carbon dioxide, which is a huge problem. We do not want more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. However, there are some problems with it. So, for example, hydroelectric dams, they can disrupt the natural habitat for living things in that area. So, we have to be smart with how we do it. Oh, here's a picture of a big old hydroelectric dam. You can see the people walking on top. The water is being harnessed from the top to the bottom, turning the turbine and creating electricity. All right, then the last form of energy we're going to talk about briefly. It's a pretty cool form, geothermal. So deep underneath Earth, there's all of this magma that is naturally really, really hot. And in some parts of the world, it's actually closer to the Earth's surface, and we can actually harness that hot magma and turn a turbine to produce electricity. Now, there's a cool video that I'd like you to watch, so you can pause this now, go to the video, and learn a little bit more. All right, now I believe the last slide. These are the 4 ways um, that we're talking about here that for renewable energy: wind, solar, hydroelectric, and geothermal. So ultimately, these are better ways to produce electricity that don't require carbon dioxide emissions going into the atmosphere because, as you know, one of our main goals as humans is to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere that's causing the Earth to get warmer. So if we can switch our energy to these ways, it provides a lot of hope in us creating a better world and environment. Now, this link, last thing I want you to do is watch this link and watch this TED Ed talk that kind of goes through everything we've learned in about the last week or two as a quick review. All right. Well, I hope you learned some very hopeful information about how we can create clean energy for everybody by doing these sorts of things. All right, send me an email if you need anything, and we will be in touch. Thanks.